Konnichiwa, minasan. Hello, folks. So, here are our kanji for this week. So I did put them up on the vlog and website yesterday, so hopefully you've got a good introduction. But today I thought I'd take you through some of them and how I remember them and how to write them and that sort of thing today and how they go together. So let's start with these two. And before I start with this one, I want to remind you of one that we did most recently that looks like this. Do you remember what that one means? Yes, that one is stone. That one's ishi. So notice how they're similar yet different. So what's the difference? Exactly. This line does not cross through, so we get like a capital T, whereas this line does cross through. So it will be important that you try to create an image or a story that's going to help you remember this one. Has a flat top, and this one crosses through. All right. Now before we jump into those, another thing I want to talk about is this element right here. And that one, in my stories, means something like by your side, by one side. So it's almost like, I don't know, like you're reaching your arm out. Like imagine that that's a person and they're reaching their arm out and like putting their arm around something that's right next to them, that's by their side. And that can help in some of the stories. It's not going to help too much in our stories today, but well, I guess it can, because you can think of right and left as being sides of your body, so that makes sense actually. All right, so let's jump over here. So technically, that element in each of these kanjis is written differently. Do I care if you write it the right way? Not really, because it's going to look the same. If anybody ever tests you on it though, I will tell them I taught you the right ways, and I don't care if you get it right or wrong. All right, so this one means right, and this one means left. And if we look at it, we see that it's got this element by one side, and then it's got these two things, which, ta-da, they look like katakana. This one looks like katakana for ro, and this one looks like katakana for e. So for me, the way I started off remembering these was ro, starts with an R, so that's right. This one's e, which is the vowel sound in left, and so that one's left. And I never cared about the stroke order, but now that I'm a teacher, I need to know it so I can teach you this the right way. So I came up with a way of remembering it, and basically you start each of these kanji on the side of the meaning of that kanji. So this one means right, so I'm going to start on the right. So I start up here. Let me see if I can do this without blocking the camera. So you're going to start on the right side and go to the left. Then you're going to come across, and then you're going to finish it like you might expect. It looks a little funky, but that's because I was trying to write in a way that you could see. Now this one, since this one means left, we're going to start on the left side and go right, then finish it, and there you go. So again, this one technically starts on the right side, and this one technically starts on the left side. Like I said, do I care? No, I don't. But there we go. So those are the different two different kanji and their meanings. So this one is right, and this one is left. And I gave you a story to help you remember. And yeah, technically I think these do touch. It doesn't matter as long as they get pretty close. So again, we got this one, and if we want, make it touch right there. And then we got left, and you can make it touch right there. Alright, so we got right and we've got left. To be honest, I don't know that these are super duper useful kanji. They're pretty restricted, but the book wants you to know them, so there you go. Alright, so next we've got these two kanji. These are more directional kanjis for up and down. So this one is up and this one is down. And by extension, it has other meanings too. We have up, above, on, down, below, under. Up, above, on, or even top, down, below, under, or even bottom. All right, so they have sort of a spectrum of meanings, but all in the same sort of area. All right, so basically, if you look at them, you'll see that you've got a long horizontal line, and then you got a doodad on top, and you got a doodad on bottom. Makes it pretty easy to try to remember these. In my stories, a shape that looks like that, but usually it looks like that, with it angled slightly down, is like a wand, like a magic wand. And the way you can start off remembering that is, I don't know if you remember or have heard, but in olden days, people would take a stick that had like a Y like that and hold each of these ends and kind of walk around, and supposedly, if you were good at it, it would show you a point to where water was, and then you could dig a well in that spot. It was called a divining rod. Not diving rod, divining rod. All right. But by extension, I just make it mean wand. So when I see it in stories or in kanji, I make up stories that have a wand in it. For these two kanji, you probably don't really need a wand so much. But if you like wands, then you can make a story with it. All right. So this one is, oh my goodness. I always have to check to be sure I do it the right way. All right. So this one is the vertical part first, and then the two horizontal parts. Vertical, horizontal, horizontal. Vertical, horizontal, horizontal. All right, and that one means on, above, on top. It has the meaning of, or has the pronunciation of Joel as an onyomi and ue for the kunyomi. All right, and then over here we've got this kanji. This one's going to be the long horizontal, then the vertical, then the little angle. Boom, 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 boom. Pretty easy to write, and I think pretty easy to remember the meanings. One's pointing up for up, one pointing down for down. On, under, above, below. Pretty easy. The readings for this one, they're actually, so I told you that just two of the readings, those are the main readings that we'll come across. And this one has onyomis of ka and ge, but we mainly are going to get the reading of shita for under. But both of these actually have a wide variety of readings that if you go further into Japanese, you'll come across them. But for our purposes, we just really need ue and shita. You might come across jo and ge and ka as well in our upper levels. All right. So next, we've got this monster. And that one's going to take a little bit of explaining. Hopefully I don't get too sidetracked in doing this. But let's come over here and we'll talk a little bit about this. So first of all, it means years old. And if you remember, last week we did the kanji. That kanji for sai to mean years old. So this is actually an abbreviation because the true kanji for years old is so big. People took this kanji, which was already pronounced sai, and just said, hey, can we just use this as an abbreviation to stand in for years old? And everybody agreed, I guess. Technically, the original meaning for this, though, is ability, or like a gift, like a talent. And it's in the kanji tensai, the kanji combination tensai, which means like genius. You may have heard that in your animes and whatnot. All right, but that's the abbreviation. The book wants you to learn this one, and actually it doesn't need you to learn how to write it. It just really needs to know how to recognize it, because it does pop up here and there, like in real life. People sometimes write the abbreviated one, but might still type or use this one in documents and stuff that you might need to fill out and that sort of thing. So, all right, let me bring it over here. I'm going to write it so you can see clearly. We've got this kanji on top, or this element on top. We got this element on bottom. All right, I'm going to break it down for you. First of all, this is an actual kanji by itself. And you know what? We should probably learn that right now. All right. This kanji by itself means stop. That is the kanji for stop. You will actually even see it on city streets at an intersection. If there's like a stop sign, it'll also probably have this on the painted on the road. So it's a good one to know. Tells you where to stop. So yeah, that one means stop. Now the bottom part. All right, let's see if we can go through this. It has this element, and that means arrow, or at least in my stories means arrow. It's not really a kanji by itself, but it means arrow. Then if we add this element to it, in my stories it means fiesta. Again, it's not really a kanji, but it shows up inside other kanji, and so it's good to have a story with it. So when it has that little cross, it's like you've taken your arrow and you've decorated it with something. And so it's not being used as an arrow, it's being used in a fiesta to celebrate something, like a ceremonial arrow. All right, let's take it a step further. If we add this, now this means parade. And again, it's not a real kanji, it's just in my stories. When this shows up, I'm going to think of it as a parade as opposed to something else. And basically, I see this now as making this a big structure, like you have a float going down a parade. So you've gone from a fiesta, now we have this platform and we can stand on it and we can be in a parade. And finally, what we have up here is a parade with a 1 underneath. See that right there? So we have that 1 underneath. And so this is a march. And so it's good to picture like you're having a parade, but everybody's acting like one person. So you're marching in step because you're all acting in one way. So it's not a parade where everybody's cheering and dancing and doing that sort of thing. It's a march, and everybody is marching in the same one beat. All right, so now we got all these elements. We can start to put together this kanji. So if we imagine we've got years old as our meaning that we're trying to get to. And so what I picture with years old is I picture a year ending. Now what happens in New York? Yes, they have a parade, but I also think of like, I don't know, the marchers in that parade. So I'm thinking of like a band marching. And you stop everything at the end of the year. You have a march. And there are little things, because remember that's the kanji for small or little. There are little things sprinkled in the air. So I'm picturing like that ticker tape celebration where everybody's in the windows and they're throwing little bits of paper and stuff out the windows to make it look like it's snowing. All right. And then we finish up our march. And that means years old. So again, if you don't want to learn how to write this, don't worry about it. You don't need to know how to write it. The book really just wants you to know how to read it or understand it when you come across it. But if you do practice each of these elements and how to write them, it can help your hand get used to the flow so that you don't have to think too much. And of course, over time, the story goes away and you don't even have to really think about it when you're writing. It just flows out of your pen. And there you go. So that's years old. All right, last one is this one right here. And this one means I or me. Basically, it's watashi. It also has the meaning of private. It originally came from the meaning of private, and it started to be used as I or me. So, to know this one, we need to take this element right here and give it a meaning. So as you can see, it's basically a tree with like this little doodad on top. You can come up with your own story for it, but for me, this is wheat. I called that one wheat. On the other side, we've got this one, which, as you can see, looks like katakana mu. But I also will use it in my stories to mean like an elbow, because basically it looks like an elbow. And so, for my story for this one, I think of someone saying, no, that's my wheat, and like using their elbow to grab up their wheat. As that's my private collection of wheat. That's my wheat. That's for me. All right. However you do it, this is how the kanji looks. Make sure that these don't get too spaced out. Whew, that one was ugly. They should stay close together. They can touch a little bit like that. It's okay if they're a little bit apart, but what I wouldn't want to see is something like this. If you're writing it like that, it is too far apart. It's making it look like that's a kanji and that's a kanji, and that they're two separate things, and we want to keep them together, okay? So make sure that they stay nice and tight together like that. All right, I'm getting a little sloppy with it, but I think that it's still readable. But there you go. That's I. That's watashi. This one's a nice one to practice, so then you don't have to write out the word watashi every time, and instead you can just write this and replace that. So watashi wa, or my, watashi no kuruma, my car. All right. So there's not really much we need to do with these. Just, yeah, practice writing them. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck.